Hey everybody, it's been about a week since I went under the house and found those files and things, and I know I told you that I'd be doing more in-depth videos about all of them. I'm going to start tonight. I've just been reading a lot. There's a lot of information there. I'm going to start with one of these files that I found a lot of good information on, and it's pretty close by, so I don't know. Maybe I could even look into some of it myself, but let's just get into it. Okay, this was one of the files that was under the house. I was opening them up and looking through them. This is Leo. This is not Harold. Some of you seemed a little confused. These seem to have been from around the 1960s, I'm thinking, just based on the information that I've found peripherally in there. This is talking about a place called Cur City. He calls it a cursed ghost town. Now, the things that he says about this place: something happened here that they kept secret, something about the freezes in the 1890s. Now let me show you something about that. This is what I found about the place. You can pause to look, but the important part is that the community was deserted after what they said the town freezes in 1894-95. Now Leo went on to write that their mysterious hypothermia deaths persist. Most have been suppressed. Now he mentions things being suppressed a lot in here. What it seems to be is different things that happened, that seemingly paranormal phenomena that the authorities at the time kind of kept under wraps to a degree. He goes on to say, Smiley knows something has bought up the whole town. And in an update, I don't know how much later, but it was an update he added later, he said, Smiley is keeping people away, maybe to help, ? Seems a witch executed by barbaric townsfolk behind it all. Karma, I guess. Now, obviously, a lot's happened since you wrote this file, but even looking here, you can see that this guy, the founder, George Smiley, bought up the whole city at one point. And, I guess he passed it on to his son, who opened it up again, but I don't know which Smiley Leo was talking about. Now, the final thing he said was that Smiley knows, accepts guilt, is keeping people away. So it sounds like this guy was, I don't want to bring up Scooby-Doo, but keeping people away and buying up the whole town so that nobody would get messed with by whatever was going on with this witch. Leo called it karma. Given what I've learned about the family so far, that doesn't really surprise me. Now, to finish out the video, I'll just show you some pretty creepy shots of this place, Cur City, Florida. It is an abandoned ghost town. It is now apparently on the National Register of Historic Places. One more creepy old shot. And I will get more info to you guys soon. Going into another of these files today, this one I consider a good amount creepier, and it ties back to things I've already talked about. We're also going to go into Harold's journal, because this is another area where it all comes together. This also goes back to what Leopold talked about in the interview that I found of him about what his biggest fear was. So some of you probably already know this is, changelings, doppelgangers, some people call them mimics, that, these things that seem to try to pass as human, but do a poor job. Okay, again, I'm going to read to you what these things say. I'll bounce around a little bit if you can't see it, but I'm going to read. Go ahead. So it says, possible changeling, maybe doppelganger. Donna, being in psychiatric ward, claims not people are following. He put the not people in quotes. I assume that means that, it meant something. He said, random nobodies that just seemed off. More recently, people she knows. She says they've been replaced. Something about her feels genuine. Have not as of yet been able to crack. My gut says changelings, mix of what I've seen, reports, and Bridget's warning. He mentions on here about wrist bruising. Placed protection rune around facility to keep her safe meanwhile. And an update, he said that Donna's sunken deeper, but I still believe her. The closer I get to this, the stranger it looks. He goes on to talk more about it. He said, when I met Donna, she was still highly cognizant. Even still, I wouldn't have believed it at all at first, if not for her wording, how she described it all. Too similar to what Harold wrote, and the bruising. Now, I'm going to come back to this, but I'm going to jump into Harold's journal real quick. Now, remember, Harold was his grandfather. This goes back a ways, and he wrote, we call them changelings, those that walk in the false flesh of men, pretending at being one of us for their own various infernal ends. They seem to pick lone targets, often tormenting them for months before finally taking their lives. Dispatching them has proven difficult. I believe this is due to them actually being primarily non-corporeal beings. Their victims report overpowering sensations of dread, display no other symptoms of mental derangement, and often suffer mysterious ring bruises around their wrists and horrific nightmares. The final update says she's gone, but I'm sure more than ever that she was right, and MIB interrogated family members. As you might recall in the radio interview, Leo did say that, he believed this Men in Black phenomena was just a modern version of these changelings or doppelgangers. He talked about the similarity with the various mythologies about these just off people who were, you could tell that they weren't quite people, but they were trying to pass and often, involved in some bad stuff. He was also one of the first to speak about the black-eyed kids and believed they were the same thing. He mentioned Bridget's warning, so I'm going to look into that. Okay, so I just woke up from another of those nightmares. This one again, much clearer, much weirder. Again, talking quietly because Melissa's asleep. In the mountains, surrounded by other people, soldiers. I'm guessing these Sons of Man type soldiers. We're walking through the mountains slowly. It's a really tense, frightening situation. And then, overcast, cloudy day, can't see the sun at all. Then there's those screeches, those like eagle kind of sounds, and these monsters, like I talked about the Morden breed vampires, saw them clearly now, fucking horrifying. Came swooping down on us, attacking. People were firing rifles, pulling short swords when they landed. It was just chaos. But then it got even weirder because it kind of got like slow motion. And I got the very distinct sensation that somebody was watching me. And I'm looking around in all this chaos, but I can't get a feel for who it is. It did not feel good. I did come across Harold then. Like, he grabbed me, and I've seen him in dreams before. And he just said, like, I'm starting to lose it already. How can he be here? Not talking about me, he was talking to me about somebody else, basically like, this is impossible. And then I woke up, and here I am, so I don't know. That was really creepy. Okay, tonight we are going to go into another one of the files from my great-grandfather Leopold that I found under the house during my live. Another interesting one, been doing a lot of research about these. That's why they've been a little bit slow coming out, but let's just go into it. Okay, it says, multiple dog man sightings in Panhandle. This one puzzles me. Does not all capped, seem to be lycanthropes, Voltkin, or anything else I know. Maybe some kind of modern Ulfenheiner, some weird word, I'll show you what that means. Very aggressive, intelligent, possibly human level, unorganized, at least for now. And then he has several updates talking about basically how he hasn't found anything. For a little bit he thinks maybe it's mass hallucination, but he's changes his mind on that. He goes on to say, deeper dive has me thinking might be related to Harold's writings about Vienna. Now, if you remember in here, from Harold's journal, and Harold was Leopold's grandfather, he talked about how lycanthropes were creatures that sound like, like a classic wolf man, just a man covered in hair with claws and teeth. And something that some group did in Vienna seemed to create this much more monstrous version that sounds like a dog man. He goes on to talk about more suppression, and like the suppression of the stories is what makes him really believe something's going on. He also mentions reaching out to Edgar again. Now, this seems to have been a contact, someone he knew in the Psalms. He thought they were the ones suppressing it. And he says that he did reach out to this Edgar person, and they told him either to join up or stay back. And that's the last thing he says about it here. Okay, so first, what is a dogman? My research showed me that it's some kind of cryptid, kind of related with some of the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomena. They never mention Leopold, Harold, none of them ever mention anything about anything like Bigfoot. This is the closest thing, and here's a picture I found of a supposed dogman on the internet. And here is an apparent artist's rendition, like a police sketch of what people claim to see. As you can see, it's basically just a horrifying werewolf. Now, I couldn't find anything about reports of this in Florida or in the Panhandle, which, if you don't know, is a part of Florida. I did find about the Michigan Dogman, goes back to 1887. And, I do know that there are more stories about this, not just in Michigan, but it is the most famous one. And finally, this Ulfenar thing that he mentions kind of has a really cool and random connection to me. I'll talk to you guys about it. You see here, these are the wolf berserkers. Basically, they were like, how berserkers were bears, these guys were wolves, essentially. And, that's what I wrote my story. I have my short story on my bio about, is about one of these guys. So Leopold apparently thought it could be a modern version of that, and who knows what that would be like. Hey everybody, apparently TikTok took down my most recent mermaid video about the history with my ancestors and mermaids. So I'm just going to do a really truncated version of that real quick, just so you know that information is still there. My followers already know, but if you don't, I found this trunk under my house, and I found a lot of evidence in this house that I inherited that my ancestors were monster hunters, dealing with supernatural creatures, which did include mermaids. The earliest report I have about this is in the journal of my great-great-great-grandfather, Harold Oldrey. He talks about slaying a sea monster and an ensuing flood that crushed around him. He would have died, but he woke up after 3 mermaids had pulled him back to the shore. This was his sketch. He says they tried to engage him in play or something, tried to interact with him when he woke up, and he just fled. This seemed to have led to something of a grudge that they held against our family ever since. The next thing I have is from his grandson, my great-grandfather, Leopold. He talks about St. Augustine mermaids. He talked, basically there were reports that were kind of hidden, but that he found out and looked into and was trying to figure out what was going on. He reached out to someone he knew who was a member of the Catholic Church's group that handled these kind of things, who he was not associated with at the time, but just for information, and apparently they said they had it under control. I do also know from an interview he did that I posted on my page that a mermaid or mermaids followed his ship across the Atlantic when he immigrated from the UK. He said he could hear their songs every night. And finally is my great-uncle, who mysteriously passed away in the Navy in the 70s. I was named after him. I don't know if this is related, but from what I've read from my great-grandfather, it seems he may have believed that it was. And those are the highlights of the Oldrey family history with mermaids, and I hope TikTok doesn't find some reason to take this one down too. Alright, it is February 22nd, 2022. I'm already getting a ton of comments, people asking if anything's happened, and honestly I woke up today feeling completely normal, no weird dreams, nothing like that. Seemed totally normal, didn't notice anything for much of the day, it's already 4 now. And then when I was going back down to my room, passing my grandma's organ that she had down here, I did notice something pretty... It's weird because it doesn't seem too huge, but it's incredibly weird, so let me explain. The clock is just gone, like completely vanished without a trace. Okay, so this is where it definitely was. Sitting up here on the top, you can see the matching candelabras are still there. This is where it was when I moved in the house. This is where I kept it other than when I moved it to show in the video. My bedroom is literally right on the other side of that wall. This is kind of like in the center of the home. There is no way that someone got in here and took it without me realizing, especially with Summer. This is right down here where Summer sleeps. There's just no way. It's huge, it's heavy, and it's fucking gone. Okay, so now I'm just looking all over the house. I mean, obviously I couldn't have just misplaced something like that, but I don't know. I want to, you know me if you've been watching. I want to rule out everything normal before I say this is fucking weird as hell. Huge, heavy clock with weird stuff inside of it, with this date written on a note that seemed like it was like 100 years old, and now it is just disappeared on this day. So, I mean, I'm going to keep looking around and see if I notice anything else. Yep, I just checked inside the trunk, and the fucking Hamsa blade is gone. If you remember, I have the video. That was the weird blade. It had an eye on it. The shape, people told me, was a cross. It had something to do with the Knights Templar. Apparently was the weapon they used to kill whatever they didn't know how to kill. And it's gone. Kind of pissed off, but more weirded out, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm still looking around to see what's going on. I'm just going to post this now, though. I'm also going to post 2 short clips just to show what I'm talking about with the clock and the Hamsa blade. This is the clock in question. It was mentioned by the people who called me looking for strange things. Inside of it I found this pouch, which among other things had this note with today's date. This weapon was in possession of my ancestors, and they claimed they used it to hunt monsters. Okay, I have been searching everywhere for hours. A lot of you are saying I should look under the house, and I'm planning on it, but I figure if I'm going to look where it would have to have been, like, supernaturally moved somewhere, I'm going to look everywhere first. I'm looking out in the shed right now, and I found something that, might be related to this clock disappearing. Let me just show you. Okay, now I'm going to need a ladder, but I swear to you, that suitcase that's up there has never been up there before. I've come out here into the shed looking through things. I've made a couple videos. Every piece of suitcase or paper or anything that looks like it could have something inside of it, I have gone through multiple times. Just, all the stuff I found here. So I know that that was not there. It's really heavy. I'm going to have to get the ladder in here or something to get it down. I'm going to do that, and, luckily it's a video, so I'll just cut right to it. Okay, I got it down, and guys, it is heavy. It feels just about right to be the same weight as that clock. I mean, this is fucking crazy. I don't know how long. I mean, like I said, I've been out here before. This was not here. This was not here until today. It is locked. I'm trying to figure out what to do, because right now it's just set on 000, which is clearly not the combination. So, I'll try to do it right now. If I can't figure it out soon enough, I'll post this and have to update again later. Okay, so I have not been able to get this suitcase open. I don't want to bust it open with a crowbar. I will if I have to. Does anybody maybe know a good way to crack a lock like that? How I could try to figure out what the combination... I don't know. I don't know. Or just a good way to get through it. Just let me know in the comments. I really want to see if the clock is in there, because that is crazy. It looks like it's been up there for decades. Okay, I've been a little preoccupied with ordinary, everyday, dad stuff, but I'm going to open this now. I did manage to reset it based on some advice people on here gave me. I looked it up. So I'm opening it now for the first time for you to see along with me. I don't know what I expect. The clock could definitely be in here, I think. Based on what I've seen so far, nothing's going to surprise me. Okay, it's a little bit tough, jammed, but it is opening. Okay. Jesus Christ. I'm trying not to curse as much. I know I've been cursing again. I used to curse a lot in these, but holy shit. I don't know how well you can tell, but there's like more dust on here than there was. And the bottom is back on it. The bottom that I pulled off to find the other stuff before. Just gonna do it again. Yeah, I can see there's something in there through this little cage thing. Oh shit. Oh my god. There's another paper, and if this is what I think it is... Yep. Okay, well, this stuff is back. Holy shit. But I have no idea how it got out there. I have no... Okay, this new note is addressed to me. It has Alex written on the front of it. I open it up, and it says, "Hoping this gets back to you in one piece. Forgive the imposition. Keep up the good work and mind your nightmares." And then it looks like it's signed. It just says TV. I keep thinking that I'm beyond the point where this stuff can surprise me or that it can get to me, and then something else happens. I have no idea where to go with this. If I'm being honest, and I'm just going to speak my mind, this looks like some time travel shit. I don't know. But it's freaking me out, and I'm just going to leave it there for now. The other stuff that was in there before is not in there anymore. It's just the dagger and then that note. I don't know. I'll talk to you guys more about this tomorrow. I don't know. Hey everybody, quick update. I told you I'd update you today. I am looking through a lot of the stuff that I have, trying to get answers about what happened yesterday. If you don't know, go to my page. I have 3 videos. The most recent, it's insane. Now, obviously, like all the stuff here, the trunk, frogette, and, now this, I know it has something to do with my ancestors. If you're new here, my ancestors were monster hunters. Hard pill to swallow, but there it is. You don't believe me? Go check out my page. It's all there. When Megan the medium came to visit and she looked at the note, she did tell me that she thought that it was written by somebody that Harold knew. That's my great-great-great-grandfather. I have his journal. She also said that this person, she could not sense whether they were alive or dead, which was unusual for her. Now, this clock that disappeared and reappeared with a new note inside of it that seemed to be addressed to me, that looked like it could be 100 years old, it was signed by the initials TV. So I've been looking through Harold's journals and papers and Sister Helena's writings about him to find anything that has a T or a V in the initials. And I think I might have a lead on what this is and what might have happened. And it is unbelievable. Now, longtime followers might remember in this section of Harold's journal about werewolves, he talked about a Professor Vanderstark, and he talked about him in reference to, scientists of some kind. Now, further reading about him in here indicates that he was definitely some kind of engineer who made weapons for Harold. Now, as far as I know, his name was Eric, but let me show you what else I have in here that I haven't shown yet. This is a section further to the back that a lot of the writing has really faded, and I can't even make out what some of it says. But he definitely is talking about people that he works with. And one section here says the Vanderstark brothers. Eric spent years as my weaponsmith. Like I said, this was an engineer who armed him. But then he talks about another Vanderstark brother. I can't get this to focus. I can't get exactly what his name was because it's faded, but it looks like it might start with a T. And it's really hard to make out here. I'm just going to hold it and pause it. I'm not even going to try to read it verbatim. But what he says is that he was basically inhumanly intelligent, that he was so smart that he seemed to have passed what was humanly possible, and that he expected to see whole new branches of science come from this guy's mind. I have a lot more to go back through in these writings. I believe he might have been referenced again, and, with everything that's going on here, I'm beyond not believing something's possible. And when it comes to my family's history, this just seems like another wrinkle of craziness, so I'm going to see where this goes.